Alright, so in this series I am going to show you how to make a game-ready pitchfork. We are going to model it here in Blender, UV it here in Blender, then we will take it into Substance Painter and texture it, which you can see the results here. And once we've textured it inside of Substance, we are going to export it into Unreal Engine. We will have Unreal Engine generate several LODs for us. And we will create a slot on our character skeleton to equip the pitchfork to. And the idea here is we are going to learn and cover everything you need to know to make a pitchfork, a shovel, a spear. And I mean, most of this will apply to any kind of game-ready weapon or prop. So, let's get on with it. Alright, let's build this pitchfork. So, we're going to start off pretty simply. We're just going to add a mesh, a cylinder, and if you don't have it up already, just press N or the little arrow right there to bring up the side panel of the 3D view. And we're going to change the dimensions to, I don't know, point. Is that small enough? I don't think that's small enough. That's good. That's probably good enough to start. 0.05 on the X and Y, and then 2 meters tall. Then I'll just select it and scale the whole thing down to about 1.45 meters on the Z. The idea here is I kind of want the pitchfork to be about 1.7 meters tall when it's finished, but that, includes the fork. So I'm going to try this handle size for now. Maybe make the handle a bit smaller. So I'm going to hit scale Shift Z to scale it on everything but the Z axis and just bring that down a little more to about 0.00285 meters. And now I'm going to go and add in a cube and scale that way down. Hit G and Z to scale on the Z axis, bring that up. And I want this cube to be, well, that's actually probably a bit fine, really. Plan on adding a subsurf modifier to it in a bit here. But let's just go ahead and set our cube to shade smooth, as well as our cylinder here. So, object and shade smooth. Alright. Now that we've got that out of the way, let's go and add in a mirror modifier. We'll use the X axis by default. And I'm going to hit 1 on the numpad to go and do front orthographic view. I've got X-ray turned on right now. That's that button here if you're unaware. And I'm going to tab into edit mode. I'm going to select the vertices on the left and delete them. That should leave us with this 2D plane here of 4 vertices. And now I'm going to turn on clipping, and I'm going to move it on the X into itself. Okay. Now I'm going to hit 1 again, come back to front orthographic. I'm going to turn clipping off. And I'm going to hit E to extrude. And I'm going to extrude that out just a bit, I think. Yeah. But actually, something I should go ahead and do before it gets away from us is I want to add some additional loop cuts to this cube. Just one on the top and bottom so it's divided evenly. And then I want to grab each corner and I want to scale them in so it's a bit rounded. And now I'm going to actually come into my modifiers and add in a subdivision surface. And I'll set it to 2. And you can see this inside geometry is giving us problems. So I'm going to delete that vertice in the middle there. Alright. Now I'm going to select it all and hit grab X and move it in. Actually, I'm going to skip. Hold on, I forget. I did not have clipping on my mirror anymore, so I want to turn that back on. Hit grab X, move it back together, and so now we've just got this nice disc. Alright. So we've got that all cleaned up now. I'll go back into front orthographic mode. I'll select this side and I'll move it out just a hair there. And I'm going to extrude it out a little bit. Move it up. Actually, I think I'm going to go ahead and scale this down so it's a little narrower than our handle. We'll build the thicker base portion later. So, alright, now that's smaller. I'm going to grab this side here. And I do still have X-ray on. You want to make sure you're grabbing the front and back. I'm going to extrude, and rotate, extrude, and rotate. Extrude, and rotate. Okay. Going to move that out maybe to there. Now I want to go ahead and come in and grab these top 2 faces. And we're going to extrude those up. Way up. Alright. Now we should go ahead and add in an edge loop down around here. And I'm actually going to hit SZ0 to scale it on the Z axis by 0 to flatten those out. Now that I've done that, I'll come back into here. And now we need to finish these sides. Rotate, bring it in. And up one more. Rotate it. And alright. That's good. Except it's a little chunky at the moment. So now we're going to clean this up and get looking right. So I'm just going to grab all of those and just scale them in. I'll select this one down here and scale that in as well. I'll select the one below it and scale it down. Then I will scale these. And finally I will scale this as well. And what we should be left with is some pretty decently thin. Maybe I'll scale these down just a bit more. We should have some thin forks up there. And now we need to worry about how we're going to deform the fork at the top. So I'm going to Control R, add some loop cuts. I'm going to add 3 of them. And you can just, if you hit Control R, hover here and get that highlighted. And then you can use your mouse wheel up and down, like this, to change the number of loop cuts. We want 3. And I think we're going to go ahead and scale each of these individually by 0 on the Z, just to make sure they're flat. And now I'm going to come up here, and this looks rather square at the moment because well, that's what it is. We extruded 2 rectangles up there. That's actually not exactly what we want. We want to pull basically the front and back here in so it's narrower, and also potentially those corners. So to do that, I'm going to grab that vertice on the top, and I'm going to come down here and hit Control Shift and grab the vertice down there. What that'll do is grab that vertice and every vertice on the way down to that vertice. Now I'm going to hit Shift, hit that vertice, then Control Shift to that vertice. And all that does is it basically gets a path from here to there, and it'll select everything along that path. And we want these faces basically for now. I'm going to scale them on the Y, so SY, bring those in so they're about the same width as our fork over there. And then I'm going to select just the corners with the same method. And I'm going to bring those in on the Y. So scale Y and scale that down. I'm going to grab it on the X, GX, and bring that in. What that should do is essentially it will round the fork here. Now I'm just going to scale that whole bit here down to try to give it more of a point. Maybe I'll drag that middle vertice up. Actually, I'm going to make sure I get the bottom ones. So now that looks much more like a point. And you can do that with these as well. You can grab the middle vertice and pull it up just a bit. And I think that's pretty good. I think I'm going to scale that down just a little more. I guess I was kind of making it look that wide, except I wasn't taking into account that this is being mirrored, so it should really be about half that big if I want to be as big as that one. So I do want this to overall be a bit smaller. Alright. That looks okay. Maybe it's a bit too small. Or maybe those ones on the side are a bit too big, honestly. let's shrink these. Alright. So now that that's pretty good, I'm going to hit 3 to go into side orthographic view, or right orthographic. And I've got X-ray mode on, and I've got these edge loops here. But you can see they're not really lined up at the moment. So that's the first thing we need to fix. So I need to grab this, pull it up to about there. I'll grab that and put it more in line with the fork up there. I'll grab this and pull it up so it's about even with there. And here, like, you can see how it's kind of bending way off from where our geometry actually is. So I'm going to actually add in another loop cut here and move that into position there. This is kind of an extreme bend we have right here at the moment. Extreme bends can cause problems, mostly if we lower our subsurf to try to get a lower LOD. It can change the silhouette somewhat dramatically. And really, the player, like in a game, might not notice it's not very smooth or it looks ugly, but if the silhouette changes, like if it changes from the curve you see here to that, they might notice that. So we basically can't take this off to use as an LOD unless the player's very far away right now. And the way we'd get around that is simply by adding more vertices. And you can see what I'm doing here is I grab that edge loop and I hit Control B for bevel. And that will not only add more edge loops, but it'll kind of smooth them out across the mesh. And you can move it up and down to control it. And I'm thinking I must have added extra geometry here, because I'm pretty sure this... No, I messed something up there. I did that for sure. Okay. Wow, that is... I'm not even going to try to fix that. I am just going to back up out of there. I'm going to Control Z, undo all of that. And now I'm going to come back and re-bevel these sections. Uh-oh, it's still there. I must have added duplicate geometry. So, alright. If that's the case, I'm going to select it all, go to Mesh. I'll try to use Merge Vertices, and I'll merge by distance. See if that helps. And it didn't. What if I put it to 0.005? Nah, still no. 0.001. 0.001. No, still no. When did I do that? Okay, so it's fine now. Okay. Cool. Now, if I Control B, should be fine. Must have like added an edge cut right on top of it. Accidentally just trying to demo things. My bad. Alright, but that's all good now. That's finally sorted. And you can see now, if we turn our subdivision surface off and on, which you can do by toggling this little real-time display or the monitor button here. Our silhouette doesn't change that much. It does change a bit, but it's not nearly as drastic. So the change from 2 to 1 to 0 is not that bad anymore. And now we do have our edge loops more or less lined up, so we can come in here and hit 3. And I think I want to grab this whole kind of bottom section. I'm going to rotate it. Just going to tilt it out that way a bit. Then I'll grab this section right above it. And I'll move it out to here. And I'll rotate it to face the other way. Maybe a bit less, because it's I want to curve back around. So now I'll grab this and rotate and move this out. And I'll grab the ones below it. I'll move those there. Okay. I think that looks pretty reasonable. Right? Yeah, I think that's pretty reasonable. Maybe the whole thing is a little wide. Maybe it could come in and be a little narrower and a little taller. Let's come out and zoom out here. So we got this. I'm gonna scale it up a bit. Scale it up on the Z. I'm just going to play with it, scaling it up, down, left and right until I feel like it's a good shape, good proportion to the handle. And I do now. I think that's pretty reasonable. And so now I'm going to go to front orthographic, bring it down. Tab into edit mode. I'm going to grab the bottom 2 faces here. And I'm going to extrude these down. And you can see because we angled the mesh, they're not going to the middle exactly. So I'm going to bring those over a bit on the Y there. And we need to scale this out just a little bit. So I'm going to select these faces here. Okay, maybe not all those faces, so I'll select these ones. And I'll scale them on the Y. So I'll scale those out. I want them to basically cover our handle here. Then I'll grab these 2 on the side. And I'll hit GX to grab and move them along over there. And as you can see, we're starting to cover the handle. We need a bit more on the back here. So I'm going to grab just that one edge, grab it, move it along on the Y. Maybe I'll take this vertice above it too and move that out just a little. Okay, so we're starting to cover the handle now. But what I want to do now is we need to create sort of an edge here. And then we're going to inset it, and we're going to make this so it basically looks like it's slotted on top of our handle here. Going to just bevel this edge here, so Control B, just to bevel that real quick. Then I'm going to select these inner two faces underneath it, and I'm going to extrude those up with the E key. Then I'm going to scale those down. They come in like that. And I think I might select this edge loop here. The one closest to the inside to that. And I might scale that in as well, just to create a softer transition. And the idea here is we want this to basically look like it's been slotted onto it. And what I'm going to do now is try to reduce this boxy look it's got going on. So I'm going to grab some of these vertices here in the corners, and I'm going to move them along the X to pull them in. Alright, that looks a lot less boxy. Now I need to pull out this front middle here. And I think I need to pull out the front middle a bit more here as well on the back, to give it sort of a rounded look. It's completely covering our handle. Okay, I think this is looking alright. I did just realize I have a silver matte cap on. This is what it looks like with the standard studio default material. But if you want, you can of course hit this drop down under the shading, assuming you're in the viewport shading option here. Change it from studio to matte cap. Then you can select any matte cap you want. Like we could choose this one, but I tend to prefer this metal one, because the reflections really, it really shows you in better detail what the object looks like, and it will show you any kind of shading errors or any problems with the mesh very easily. But I think that's pretty good. I think this is a good place to take a break, and in the next one I think we will kind of just add some noise, add some imperfections, because I want this to look like a rough medieval farmer's tool, and right now is way too perfect and way too smooth. So I'm going to mess it up a little bit, and then we're going to UV it, or we might UV it then mess it up, and then I will take it into Substance Painter and texture it. And that will be the next video.